Hello everyone, my name is May and welcome back to me. If you are here, this is probably because you have read Way of Kings and then you read Words of Radiance and then you kind of would like to get on to Oathbringer because you know that Rhythm of War is coming out later in the year and you have no idea what happened. Well, this video is for you. I binged both The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance earlier, and then I forgot to do my Words of Radiance wrap-up. So now that I've just started reading Oathbringer, I was like, oh crap, I better actually do a Words of Radiance wrap-up or else I'm gonna mix what happens between the two books, which I'm already starting to do, despite that I've only read the smallest bit of Oathbringer. Anyway, so today, I want to give a walkthrough, not quite a blow-by-blow, but like a character arc progression of what happens to all of these people in this book. Because as much as this is kind of a plot book, it's also a character book. We're going to go through Szeth, Sanzan-Vallaro, we're going to do Dalinar, we're going to do Shallan, we're going to do Kaladin, we're going to do, what's his name, Adolin, possibly. While we're doing this character arc evaluation, we are going to be making Konnyaku Jelly from Happy Grass. Yes, that is indeed what this company has decided to call this. So whether, like, when I open this up, it's going to be marijuana inside that they've somehow managed to transport under the name of Konnyaku Jelly powder, I don't really know. My brother sent it to me as kind of a gag gift, so look, we're just going to give it a heckin' try. It looks like it's not exactly rocket science once you've found the ingredient. According to this, we just need to pour 1 packet of Happy Grass into some water, boil it, and then set it into molds with some fruit. So actually, before we do that, because we don't want it setting on us, we're going to chop up some fruit, and we are going to get going on this whole extravaganza. But before we do that, I've just washed my hands, but I am actually going to tie back my hair. This series is one of those things where you would like to go back and read the whole books before you start the next book because you've forgotten what happens, but at the same time, you don't have time because we are very busy people, apparently. And so here's the instant gratification version. If you don't remember what happened in Way of Kings, please just go look at my Way of Kings review. It's 19 minutes, put it on double speed. I don't speak that fast, surely. Just get good. Just get really good. The last book kind of closed with us knowing that Shallan killed her dad. Kaladin and the bridge crew are now like the royal takers carers of the king / Dalinar. We know that Dalinar is being now hunted by Szeth, Sanzan-Vallaro because King Taravangian, is that his name? Trying to remember these names is like so hard, man. This book again opens and we start with the preface of Galavar's assassination, and instead the preface is from Yasna's perspective. So we kind of get to see what she saw, and it's really interesting because we again get this really like this firm vision of what Dalinar was like, that he was a bit of a drunk and a bit of a not very useful, and he could have been useful when Gavilar was killed, but he wasn't because he was smashed. As with all the books, they seem to go into a different character's backstory with each book. This one, we go into Shallan's backstory. We're going to start with Szeth because he's the one first on my list. So Szeth is active, he's killing people again, and mostly because the king Taravangian, definitely pronouncing that wrong, has kind of told him to go off and kill Dalinar, so he's doing that. I really don't remember much of what he did, but basically he's going around doing that and making his way to Dalinar. My problem with doing this, and I think is what other people when they're reviewing this had, is that it's so much harder to break into people parts in this book because all the people are now together. Way of Kings, everyone was doing their own thing, whereas this is it's very hard to know people doing their own thing. Next, we're going to go Kaladin. So Kaladin and the rest of Bridge 4 are now the bodyguards of Dalinar, which is kind of makes us all happy given we know that Dalinar is going to be hunted. He's not really very pleased about this because, as we know, our boy Kaladin is not super keen on Light Eyes. Especially for Kaladin, it's this, will that growth that we saw in the first book continue to take place? Like, he's begun to have this seed of trust with Light Eyes put in him, and kind of wondering where that'll go. So really just seeing can, like, Adolin and Dalinar live up to his expectations of what people should be versus what he knows them to be at the minute. He starts to be properly trained on how to use a shard blade, and he's getting really good at using his surge binding abilities with Syl, pow pow pow, and then Amaram kind of shows up and he flips his biscuit because he's like, no, I don't want this man! Basically, he hates Amaram, and then when he sees Amaram and Dalinar kind of getting on, he's like, well, that's okay. Well, I thought Dalinar was good. He ain't anymore. I don't care that Dalinar traded his whole shard blade to buy us all back in the previous book. I'm just mad at you right now. Makes sense. Like, this dude did kind of ruin his life and kind of kill his brother. So, you know, we're fine with that. Because Dalinar is kind of trying to get lots of the other High Princes, can't really get them all on his side. And man, this is so hard to break it up into now. I feel like I want to dip into Dalinar. So Dalinar started seeing visions, and he starts seeing like a countdown clock thing. And so for him, he's decided that the best way to do this is now actually just to win the war, win the battle. And so they've started making all of the high princes have to give their jewels to the king, and no one's very happy about that. In a convoluted way, they're trying to get at Sadeas because he was the dude who betrayed them back in the previous book. So Adolin is busy challenging a bunch of Bright Lords to duels and kind of winning their shards off them because he's super good at it. But then Sadeas starts paying people off to not take up his challenges. Through a plan of Shallan's, they end up being able to bring... Oh, man. This is so hard to go through, not going in chronological order of what actually happens, but trying to actually talk about what happens to each character is really hard, and I don't know which to swap to. I'm just going to try and power on. Anyway, so in the duel that they've organised with crazy odds, Adolin accidentally works out that it's not 2-on-1, they've actually interpreted him as 4-on-1, and so they brought in 4 people kind of using the rules to the nth degree, and they've kind of paid off the ref a little bit. And they start beating the crazy out of him. And then his younger brother is like, I'll come in and help, which is a bad idea because Renarin is bad at shard stuff. Finally, Kaladin is like, screw this, and he's like, Dalinar, if you take care of my bridge crew, if I die, I'll go save your people. Then won the battle, and Adolin makes his boon of the king and challenges Sadeas, and then Kaladin, being the beautiful, vengeful idiot that he is, also high on the thrill, capital T, and also claims his own boon that he would like to challenge Amaram. Anyway, this then gets him thrown into prison, and he's in prison for a while, and Dalinar comes and chews his ear off, says thank you, but then also chews his ear off for absolutely ruining their Sadeas plan, because Sadeas then pushes the duel to whenever is convenient. Anyway, directly before this, other members from the bridge crew, I think Monash, had been this group called the Ghost Bloods that had been trying to assassinate the king because basically they've worked out that the king is kind of not very good at being a king and that he's kind of like an infected limb and they kind of just need to chop him off. I just said kind of a lot just then. They decide that that's the best way to do that and they're trying to get Kaladin on their side and Kaladin's like, no, and Syl's like, no, and Kaladin's like, well, actually, maybe they could be right. Syl's still like, no, you can go in the compost. That's right, everybody, get yourself a compost. All that stuff in landfill, bad, bad, bad. Bad. Anyway, so while in prison, Kaladin is busy thinking about, actually, maybe I should kill the king. He is a bit of a bastard. Then when he's finally let out of prison, he sees that also Adolin is let out of prison at the same time. He learns that Adolin decided that he would be shut in prison for as long as Kaladin was shut in prison, continuing to build Cal's trust in these light eyes. Some of them are decent, and he's just an incredibly prejudiced individual. Oh my gosh, Kaladin is actually Elizabeth Bennet. It's actually a romance story between Cal and... who is really full of themselves in this story? Shallan, oh maybe it, oh dear. Anyway, Adolin then offers Kaladin his shards and Kaladin's like, no, I don't actually want them, and kind of explains to him that he just really, he doesn't want shards and how bad he feels they are. He gives those shards to Monash, who's currently with the Ghost Bloods dude, so why he's doing that, we don't really know. Going across to a battle, Shallan and Cal end up being thrown down a chasm, and Cal thinks that he must have accidentally saved her with using his Stormlight, and she thinks that she must have accidentally saved him using Stormlight, so they both kind of think they've just saved each other, which is very cute. Shallan, oh maybe it, oh dear. Anyway, wandering down there for a while, they end up kind of slightly becoming friends, they work out a little bit of each other's powers, they kill a chasm fiend, and Kaladin finds out that Shallan has a massive shard blade, and she's like, please don't tell anyone. And he's like, mood, I won't tell anyone. That's cool. When they come back out of the chasm, we get this great moment where Kaladin is like kind of beaten up and not very good, but actually still when Dalinar comes in, he like salutes him and is kind of a bit respectful there. So he's really conflicted in his loyalties, our good old Kaladin. It shows, I think, the depth of character that he is, that he has his moments when he's going okay, when he's fine, and then he kind of will just slide back into these pits of despair, and he's like a teenage girl when he does. You're like, oh my gosh, act your age. Oh, that's right, you're only like 20. Oh, anyway, his loyalties sorted. When I'm done Cal, I'm then gonna start cooking this on the stove, but I just want to do Kaladin while I'm standing here talking. My brother also sent jackfruit to go with this, so we're gonna put some jackfruit in. Despite that I'm not quite sure whether mango flavoring and jackfruit go together, we're just gonna do it anyway. How does this work? Jackfruit. Legitimately just spent like 2 minutes working out how this cannon works. Also at this time, after coming out of the chasm, Dalinar then kind of confronts Amaram and kind of through wordplay, trickery, kind of makes him confess of what he's done. Very frustrated at him, but also lets him go, and kind of he and Cal have like a little bit of a bonding moment, not Amaram and Cal, Dalinar and Cal. We then finally have, as the rest of them have all gone off to Urithiru and Cal and the rest of Bridgeport are left to take care of the king, Cal is continuing to and whether he wants to kill the king, be part of this assassination. Marsh and the rest of the Ghost Bloods come and are like, you know what, if you don't want to be part of this, that's fine. We've devised a way that you don't actually have to get your hands dirty, you just have to let us do it, as opposed to fighting back. He's kind of arming and erring about that. At the minute, he's lost Syl. Syl has disappeared. So earlier when Dalinar was like, are you the one I'm looking for? And he's like, I was, but I kind of killed my friend, so oops. Finally, he's just like, nah, goes and he saves the king from being assassinated, and he's almost killed first time, but then kind of still comes back to him, and he does a big radiant in a big shiny, glowy glow. Basically a big moment of Kaladin having super powers and being able to fly, our favorite Kaladin moments. What does jackfruit taste like? I am actually intrigued emoji. That's actually pretty good. Very chewy. After then saving the king, he sends the king off to be taken care of by, I think, Lopen, his family, the Hadesians, maybe? I don't know. I legit don't remember. And he literally flies over to the battleground where the Parshendi have attacked, and he kills, saves Dalinar and kills Zeth, and then they all escape to Urithiru. Yay! These are like the cute little molds we got. They're like a Winnie the Pooh ones, and then, just the weird teddy bears. My housemate got them from Daiso, so we're just gonna see how these work. I feel like Winnie the Pooh ones should have yellow jackfruit in them. And you get a strawberry. And you get a strawberry, and everybody gets it, except you guys. You guys don't get a strawberry. Actually, the last thing that we do want to remember that happens with Kaladin is while they're down in the chasms, Kaladin finally works out that the Shardbearer he killed, that started off his whole Amaram problem train, was Shallan's brother. So, oops. Oops emoji. All is fair in love and war. Let's move this over to the stove. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is turn on this bad boy stove, and we need to put 1,225 mils of water in here. We use the jackfruit syrup, so we're going to pour that bad boy in there. How much that was. Actually, I take that back. We are going to pour that back in there. I'm so good at cooking. I'm like pro at cooking. I think we need like 3 of these. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but that's a lot of water we got going on in there. The instructions, we need to pour 1 packet of Happy Grass Konnyaku Jelly into a pot. I was meant to have added this before I added the whatever, we're adding it in the order we're doing it in. Wow, it smells like fake mango too. So let's get on to Dalinar. So Dalinar's visions, as we were saying, he was like counting down. He then decided that the best way to unite all the people of Roshar was to win the war. So basically then he was like, let's all start giving our gem hearts to the king. I think I should be High Prince of War, which I think he possibly did in Way of Kings, actually. His relationship with Navani continues to kind of develop. Meanwhile, Navani is kind of making friends with Shallan and stuff like that. When they go across to find Urithiru, Seth, Sons of Valara, kind of turns up to kill him, and he kind of does a good fight, and then he ends up being saved by Kaladin, which is a really cute time. But the Parshendi have kind of made up a massive storm that is blowing the wrong way. So basically, he and everyone else are like, well, we have to escape. I'm actually now gonna go to Shallan because I feel like she's the next like big one that's really easy to do. So Shallan is engaged to Adolin, and she and Yasna are now heading across on a boat to go through the Shattered Plains, which is all very exciting. She has this friend that's kind of appeared who we kind of now met, who's called Patton, who's been around for a while, but we're only now meeting him. Then one night she wakes up and there are some assassins on the boat and they've killed Yasna and it's a bad time, and she, to escape the assassins herself, has to make herself disappear into, I don't think it's Shades Marsh she goes into, but she kind of disguises herself. She washes up on a beach and she ends up being captured by some slave people. Using kind of technique-esque that she's learnt from Yasna and trying to imitate Yasna, she ends up making these people have to listen to her, and then when they run into some deserters, she also kind of brings the deserters onto her side. So taking these deserters who have deserted from the Shattered Plains, she kind of rallies them to go back. She then meets this other con artist woman, and this con artist woman teaches her some shit. But then this woman kind of works out who she is, that she's Shallan, who's meant to be engaged to Adolin, and realizes she could be a fantastic bit of bargaining chip, or to kill her. And so Shallan ends up whipping out her shard blade and killing this woman. Then just outside of the Shattered Plains, she meets Kaladin, and they get off to a tremendously terrible start. It's legitimately my favorite thing in literature. It's just beautiful. Listen to the audio for this, and it just like Kate Redding doing the Hornita accent, and Cal, oh, it's just beautiful. They get off to a tremendously terrible start, and I'm just saying, but like, to quote Terry Pratchett, those who meet each other and take an instant dislike to each other, we all know what that means in the long run, okay? I'm just saying those two are built to be together, even though it's like definitely a very not good relationship. Anyway, where am I up to in my list? Gets back to court and she kind of meets Adolin, and there's a love at first sight, insta love that's wholesome, but also just like, please get that out of here. No, it's legit so wholesome. I actually do think I need to transfer this to a different pot, because if this is meant to boil, there is no way that bad boy can boil. Here we go. Pot transference has occurred. I don't know if I should use that whisk either, because that's non-stick. Rid of this whisk, we're just going to use this. This is classic me, making a mess when I cook. Shallan gets to then see a session of the court, and they kind of all are just like, wait, who are you? Who is this kid? What's he going to do? Observations about the courtroom, we kind of get to know what the political situations are like. But anyway, she ends up setting herself up to go and stay with this, one of the high princes, and kind of someone who Yasna would have not suggested, but she ends up being like, you know what, Yasna, I think the political situation has changed since you were last here. She then gets a message from the Ghost Bloods to the trunk of the woman that she killed from the caravans when she was out doing the deserting stuff. Anyway, these people are like, oh, when are you going to meet us? And she's like, you know what? I'm actually going to send my apprentice, Vale. Yeah, she's going to come. She works out how to weave Stormlight to make herself appear as a different person. And she rocks up and meets the Ghost Bloods and kind of sees what they're like, and definitely gets a bit of a taste for espionage. I legit cannot wait for Shallan to basically just decide that she wants to hang all of these dudes and just become a spy. Shallan kind of is very suspicious of Amaram herself. She makes up a plan to sneak into his war camp and get a look at some of his maps and stuff, and she sees even from his crude man's maps that he is trying to find Eurythera, which is really strange because that's what Yasna was trying to find. Oh, it's coming to the boil. Let's just swap it to a small flame. This is hopefully a small flame. I don't know if you can still even see me in this, but she accidentally then gives away to the Ghost Bloods the fact that she can draw really well from memory, and so she kind of then has to try and disguise that at court and pretend she isn't. Meanwhile, she's busy courting Adolin, and she's having fun with him. It's kind of all very cute and very wholesome. Through all of this, we're getting lots of glimpses into her past, and we're seeing truly just like what a monster her father was. One of her brothers had a really bad gambling problem, and her father kind of threw him out of the house, and at one point, like, her brother turned up and they were going to kill him, and she kind of sacrificed some stuff of hers to kind of save her brother's life. We kind of get to this point where we've seen that her father has been beating like the servants and his new wife, so therefore then he doesn't beat Shallan. So Shallan is kind of just in this state of never wanting to anger her father because other people are going to be beaten up because of her. Her father is just incredibly cruel. And anyway, finally, one of her brothers tries to kill their father, but their father's wearing some kind of armor, and everything just spirals terribly in a massive big fight, and then Shallan ends up pulling out the necklace that her father bought for her and strangling her own father using that necklace. And while she strangles him, she sings him a lullaby that he used to sing to her to get her to sleep. So it's all just very creepy and sad, and like, holy shit, we can see why Shallan is such an interesting person. We learn that she has killed her dad, which was something that was teased to us at the end of Way of Kings. We're now like, okay, yeah, you killed your pa, that's fine.
I can't believe I forgot to add this, but also we find out that Shallan not only killed her dad, but she also killed her mum, because her mum tried to kill her when her light-weaving abilities first manifested, and so using Patton as a sword, she may or may not have stabbed her mum when her dad tried to protect her. And then her dad tried to cover it up for the fact that Shallan had killed her mum, and basically took the blame himself, and that drove him mad, and that's all part of her complex of being an incredibly traumatized character. And also a murderer twice over.
Around, Shallan has found this stuff of Amaram's, and she's kind of worked out that he wants to get to Eurythera. She started looking to try to get to Eurythera, including going out onto the Shattered Plains, and I think that's when she falls down the chasm and does that whole chasm thing with Kaladin. Anyway, which is kind of cute. To quickly speak about that, like, I definitely ship her and Kaladin, but at the same time, at the minute, they're not very good for each other, so possibly not, but possibly yes, I just don't even know. She and the rest of the troops go and try and find Irithiru. She and Renarin end up opening up the Oath Gate through discovering that Renarin is actually also a Radiant. Bum bum bum. And through all of it, it's also just really interesting seeing how she reacts to all of these people and things. She's trying to establish herself as a woman, but she's all alone and she misses her brothers, she misses her family, she misses Yasna, but she's trying to pull together to be really strong and never show anybody all of her cards. Anyway, at the end of that, they get through to Irithiru. Yay, everybody's happy. But she gets this note from the Ghost Bloods saying that they know who she is. They think that she actually is more veiled than she is Shallan, which I agree. Apparently Shallan doesn't know, but Kaladin now knows that her brother was killed by Kaladin as a shard bearer, and so she's we're just waiting for that beautiful revealing thing to just ruin everything. We now have to add this acid, malic acid. In we go. Place fruits in a mold. Pour the mixture into the mold until full and allow the jelly to set. Let's get that then. Okay, so we've now moved ourselves over here to put this jelly into these cups. The last thing for Shallan is that she continues to show loyalty to the Ghost Bloods. I guess that's just an interesting happenstance. She's actually still kind of keen to show them loyalty. Well, this jelly is setting really fast. Then, to move on to Adolin, I kind of actually didn't have many notes for him. He kind of, my three big notes that I had was that he fights some people, he falls in love a bit, and then the big thing at the end that I think everyone is thinking about is the fact that he then finally shows how much, I guess, he is not a Radiant and can't keep his cool, in that he then finally is the person to kill Sadeas. So, yeah, that's a fun. We're gonna have way too much jelly. Holy shite, this has made a lot of jelly. Who let me do this? I cannot multitask right now and talk while I'm doing these, because these are really hard to make sure they're not spilling everywhere. I found this dish, and we're gonna put it all in this dish, I think. I don't know if it's all gonna fit. It's probably not all gonna fit.
Definitely not. Let's chuck some of this fruit in. La-di-da-da. Pew, 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 pew.
Ew. Man, this is cool. I should use this for like stage gloop or something. This is neato. I kind of wish I was more grossed out, but I'm really not. Like, this is just cool. I'm gonna eat some of it. What am I gonna do with this? Maybe I'll make like pretty art. Whew. I'm basically an artist. Yeah, don't try this at home, kids. Very end, we end up with this scene of Yasna and Wit. Wit is actually meant to be a character who travels between like all of Sanderson's books, so I'm just like, you know, now interested in knowing that that's who he is. These are really cool looking jellies. Waha, we did it. So the real question is, guys, is this men's food or is this women's food? Like, Rashar standards. Let me know, you know? I think this was incredibly rambly and I have no idea whether I can even edit this to make this make any sense, but thanks for staying around to make some happy grass Konnyaku jelly. Aren't we glad it wasn't all marijuana, unless it actually is marijuana? Look, I will admit I'm innocent enough that I probably wouldn't know if it looked me in the face. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye! You are here, it's probably because you've wed. That's the Vietnamese. I did actually start to try and read, and then I was like, that's actually none of those English words. Can't help it, use the same alphabet as me, and I'm just like, oh gosh, I'm being dyslexic again. Shaladin is perfect. I think I just got a message on my phone, that's very awkward. Why am I holding this water bottle? That's right, I want to fill it up because I want to drink water before I start filming. Lol.